Welcome back to Lenz's Movie Reviews. This is episode 46 and triple feature number 12. First up, Halloween 5, Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, the thing with this film is because the fourth film did, well, according to the studio, actually pretty well. They rushed this film into production, and now the twist ending they did this film, it's kind of the same thing they did with the end of Friday the 13th Part 5, New Beginning, where they tease something at the end, and the next time they completely ignore it. Yep. Yeah, and apparently Jamie Lloyd, who actually is this little girl right here, who first appeared in the previous film, now she's played by Danielle Harris, and she's in just these two films, because in the following film, she's nowhere in it, and she hasn't returned to the series until the reboot, happening in 2007. And this film came out in 1989. Now, how old was Danielle Harris when this film came out? Well, let's see. In the case of the previous film, so when they decided to bring these films back, I forgot to mention this, they decided to have it where they were thinking of bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis, but she turned it down, so they had her character die off screen. But in a car crash, but they brought back Donald Pleasence, which he was very nice to see him. And the film decided to jump ahead 10 years later, despite the fact the film comes out like 9 years after the previous film. But it takes place 10 years after the first film. But they do reference the ending of the second film, so yeah. And the third film has really nothing to do with that one. Now, the actress herself currently is 39. When the first film came out, she was 1. I'm not kidding. She was born in 1977. She was 1 year old when the first one came out. When she did Return of Michael Myers, she was, from the looks of this, she looks like she was 11 with this film. With the sequel, she was 12. Okay. And as far as I can tell, she never came back to the series after, but she did come back to the series for the reboot as a different character. Her character is Jamie Lloyd. She's supposed to be Laurie Strode's daughter. That's simply what she is. She's Michael Myers' niece. So they kind of established that. In the first film, in the fourth film, she actually at the end of the fourth film, she actually puts on the same costume that Michael Myers put on as a child in the original film. I forgot to also mention this when I mentioned the first review. The opening scene of the film with Michael Myers doing the POV shots. Now that's actually taken from Black Christmas. Now John Carpenter himself actually got permission from the director of Black Christmas to do that. So he didn't do it. He actually, it's not like, oh yeah, he ripped off Black Christmas with the opening. He had permission to do that. So don't cry into him about that. But yeah. They kind of ended the fourth film kind of the same way too. So yeah, they ended with Jamie Lloyd stabbing her foster mother, and the film kind of ends with her covered in blood, and Donald Pleasence's character, Dr. Lynn, was trying to shoot her, and the film ends right there. Next time was like, oh yeah, that kind of happened, but didn't, and apparently she stopped speaking. In most of the film, she doesn't talk at all. But then she finally starts speaking again, and they do kind of do the same thing doing begin the second one. They kind of do flashback of the previous film to kind of show the ending. This one they actually added a little bit to that ending where they do a second Dynamite Down Mine Shaft, which is basically what happened at the end of the fourth film. This film, apparently Michael Myers had been living with a hermit for the past year, which, okay, having a year pass by between sequels, that's actually not a bad idea, because it really had been a year, and I heard that they rushed this film into production, and of course the Michael Myers house in this film looks completely different than it did in the first film. Actually, I forgot to mention this. The Myers house only shows up in the first two films, the fifth film, sixth, eighth, and the 2007 reboot. It only appears a few times. But the fifth film was the first time since the second film has been seen. But the house had been completely changed to a Victorian mansion. Of course, they did it just for And of course, the reason why that is because they moved production from LA to Seattle. That's the only reason why that is. Despite the fact this film was supposed to take place a year later. But I gotta admit, despite the fact this film was rushed in production, it's still a pretty decent film for what it is. And because of the fact it was rushed, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, next up is... Oh, I forgot to mention. At the end of the film, Michael Myers is captured. And then like, he disappears. And they also have a man in black, which basically he's there to set up the next film, in a way. The writers had no idea what to do with this dang character. And I'll reveal who he is in a minute. But it's a bit bizarre when it comes to this. And the film series went on hiatus for 6 years. Now, there was a reason for this. Lawsuits, bunch of legal stuff. That's the reason why it took 6 years to make the sixth film, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Which, with this film, it does have a few different titles with it. I should also mention this about the fifth film, is that it doesn't have it does not say Revenge of Michael Myers. It only says it on the poster in front of it. Now, this film had a few different names. It's also known as Halloween 6, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and of course Halloween 666. And there are in fact 2 cuts of this film. I am not kidding. There are 2 cuts of this very film. Let me check and see if it's in here. I want to make sure of that. Okay, yeah, it's here. It's on one of these double side disc things. Yeah, it's on one of these discs here. I should mention that Paul Rudd is in this film, and here's something interesting about this film and Paul Rudd, who plays the character from the first 2 films, Tommy Doyle. Paul Rudd is currently 47. Yeah, he's 47. Now, interesting fact about this film. This is the 4th film he's ever been in. Now, people think of Paul Rudd today as Ant-Man, but he was in Halloween. Okay, so you have the first ever superhero actor basically in a Halloween film, but okay. So, this film is very bizarre, and there are 2 cuts to this film. There is the regular theatrical cut, which is released in theaters, and the producer's cut. Oh boy, I have never actually watched it fully. I've only seen clips of the producer's cut. I can kind of see why it was released, because there was some stuff in it relating to Circle of Thorn, which is explained a lot more than he is in this film. Even the deaths, they actually got those deaths a little bit better, but there is one thing in particular that is not really referenced that much in this film, but it's basically brought up. Now, basically, Jamie Lloyd basically gives birth to a baby boy. Now, who is the father? Michael Myers, of course. Though I have a theory it was actually the cult leader, who was actually a character from the first film. Let's see, what's his name? The actor is a very familiar actor. The actor who plays, Dr. Terrence Wayne. He's played by Mitchell Ryan. That's plays in this film. Yeah, the guy who plays him is actually a really good actor. Let's look up his filmography here. Yeah, the guy now is 88 years old. He's known for being on Dark Shadows and Dharma and Greg, and he was in Lethal Weapon. But yeah, they picked a legendary actor as a cult leader. Now, some of this film, especially from some of the scenes I saw from the producer's cut, it looks like stuff from Devil's Reign. It's like this film ripped off Devil's Reign. That's where you kind of say we look at the producer's cut. And the ending is weak. Like, really, really weak. It's worse than actually the actual ending of this film. And the ending is simply this: that Michael Myers is stopped by a group of stones and blood on the floor of the Smithsonian Grove. Oh boy. Is this a bad film? Not technically, no. But it is nice to see Paul Rudd in this film. And here's the thing. The first time you see him in the theatrical cut, I'm not sure how it is in the producer's cut. First time you see him, he's spying on Miss Strode. He's spying on, what's her name? From this film. Let's see here. He's spying on Kara Strode, who is played by an actress who currently is in her 40s right now. When this film came out, which was her, believe it or not, the actress who played Kara Strode, who's a cousin of Laurie Strode, she, believe it or not, this film was actually, from looking for her filmography, Curse Michael Myers was her very first film she ever appeared in. So you have a first film appearance for her. And the actress who played her is named Marina Hogan. And when she did this film, she was 29. But she looked a little bit older than she actually did. She looked like she was in her early 30s, I'd say. But she was 29. As for Mr. Paul Rudd, who is now 49, let's see. When this film came out, though he's credited in the film as Paul Stephen, but he is now 47, which makes him about 3 years younger than the other actress. So when this film came out, he was, let's see here, he was actually a few years younger. I think he was like 26. Yeah, 26 when this film came out. So two interesting actors. Now Paul Rudd does do a pretty interesting job. I mean, he explains the Clothes Thorn really well in this film. And despite the fact he doesn't know how to take care of babies, so basically Kara, who is a mother, she knows how to take care of babies. Like, okay, fine. And they kind of run with it together. Now, the ending of this film is taken from the producer's cut, where he's screaming for some reason, and of course you see Michael Myers' mask on the ground, and a needle. And the kind of film ends right there. It's a bit bizarre film. Of the 8th film, this is like the second weakest film of the whole series. Is it terrible? Kind of, yes, but you can kind of really enjoy how beautifully shot this film is. But because this film was a big, humongous step down from the 5th film, I'm giving the film an 8 out of 10. Actually, it was a little bit low. I'm giving it 7.75 out of 10. It's not a terrible movie per se, but it's enjoyable to watch. Okay? The last film I'm going to talk about is Halloween, H2O, 20 years later. Jamie Lee Curtis returning, but no John Carpenter. I heard he was asked, but he was already in Hollywood at this point, so. Oh, I forgot to mention this film is, let's see, what's the runtime for Curse of Michael Myers? The Curse of Michael Myers is an hour and 28 minutes. Yeah. And that's the regular theatrical cut. How long is the producer's cut? Let me look here. It doesn't say. Let's see. It doesn't say exactly how long it's been, but apparently the film quality for the 6th film is really, for the producer's cut is really bad, but I haven't seen it, so I can't give any producer's cut. I'm only putting in the theatrical cut. H2O, which came out, of course, I almost forgot about this. Miramax, who also at this point had the rights to Hellraiser, they're the ones who took over the rights for Halloween. And this film came out in 95. H2O came out 3 years later, which made sense. Okay. And with this film, they kind of retconned the previous 3 films out of existence. But I still watch the films in order despite that. And this film brings back Jamie Lee Curtis, but it kind of starts the little thing. I mean, the only reason I was brought back was because at this point there was a revival of slasher films, because also Scream came out, and from look at the class of the movie poster, it looks very similar to that of Scream. Yeah. Yeah, that's just the way it is. But it's nice to see Jimmy Curtis back. LL Cool J is in this film. Yep, he's in the film too. I think this is also his first film appearance. I think so, because a lot of people who make the first horror film appearance become really big actors after that. This film is actually one of the more better films of the series. The seventh film of the series. I mean, before I knew of Curse Michael Myers, I never knew the thing existed because I only kind of knew about the first 5 films, and basically, oh, there's only H2O. Now, I never initially knew about Curse Michael Myers, but hey, it's nice to see it. I kind of think, oh, after Curse, it was after Revenge, it was probably H2O, but yeah. But it's a really fun film, and it's basically nice to see Jamie Lee Curtis actually fighting Michael Myers at throwing stuff instead of him attacking her, so taking boo-boo chops, stuff like that. And the film ends with Michael Myers getting beheaded. So, yeah, like how we can go from here. Money brought the character back. But I'll explain that in the next episode when I go over the last official film of the series before the reboot. Okay? And I give the film not 8.5 out of 10. It was a much more improvement over the Curse Michael Myers film. Okay? So, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode 47, where I'm going to talk about Halloween Resurrection. And for a lot of people, this was the worst film of the whole series. This is actually probably either worse than Curse of Michael Myers or probably a little bit better. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.